Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. Playing a little Ender Lilies here, which I think I did. Now, did I do a playthrough of this that I gave up on? Feel like I did. Like it just got too tedious or too annoying or something, and I was like, fuck this. I think so, because I have a level like 54 save in this game. And it's, I seem to recall getting frustrated. I just don't know if I reported it or not. Yeah, so I'm just like, I guess the sequel just came out to this. And it's got like an overwhelmingly positive rating. And this is in the process of being added to Archipelago, and it's like, man, I should really like Ender Lilies. I don't know what it is about this game that... I think it's just tough. I think I'm just bad at it. That's it. Plain and simple. Fuck. Fuck, yeah, I'm terrible, man. You spend all your time just playing solo RPGs, and then expect to pick up a game like this and go. Right. So, this week on this channel, we had Dawn of War, Winter Assault, now on to Dawn of War 2. And we had Eye of the Beholder. Fucking hell. Her dodge is just so weird to me. Like her fucking belly flop. That's what really throws me off of just like, holy shit, this is not... I always feel like I have to jump to do it, and I don't think that's what you're meant to do. We finished Eye of the Beholder 2, so we moved on to Champions of Krynn, first in the Dragonlance Gold Box games. So there'll be 3 of those games. Yeah, see, I always think I have to jump, but you don't want to jump. Yeah, I started with a boss fight because this is where I left off. Good decision. Now I entered phase 2. I'm gonna get my ass handed, and then I can continue to talk. Oh, backhand. Oh, charge. Fuck, man. You can't dive through them anymore. Oh, fuck this. Fuck this. Never gonna happen. Just wander around for half an hour while I talk. Anyways. Yeah, so Dawn of War Gold Box, still continuing for a while, and now I'm up to like 50 solo RPG videos that'll get uploaded God knows when. So there's that. But we have Monster Hunter. No, Monster Hunter's not till the end of February. It's a long ways off. So really nothing. Just nothing. I have too many videos to upload anyways to like think about recording a new game or something. Oh, sorry for those that are not interested in Dawn of War or Gold Box games. Lego and I, we were doing Factorio Warp Drive Machine, but then last night, yeah, it got a little too rough, and we're like, okay, well, let's just go back to Archipelago. Because they added a new thing to Archipelago called Keymaster's Keep. So there is this thing called manuals for Archipelago, which I haven't done any because none have really caught my eye too much. But essentially, a manual is a randomizer that doesn't really randomize the game itself usually. It doesn't hook into the game to randomize elements. As like a mod would do or something. So it's a lot less restrictive then, because it doesn't actually have to hook into the game at all. So there's a lot of other games that have manuals that don't technically have randos, like MMOs. Like Final Fantasy XIV has a manual, and like WoW Classic I think has a manual. Marvel Rivals has a manual. And it's literally just like the Marvel Rivals manual is, you know, complete a match with each hero, and those are all different checks, and then complete use each hero's ultimate once, and that's a check or something like that. And once you just do that, it's all on the honor system and whatever, because that's all it can be. And so you finish a match as Storm, and then you go over and you click completed, and that's done. And then it sends a check to Archipelago. So it's basically your game generally isn't that randomized, but it interacts with the Archipelago system to randomize and send checks for other people. Like if you're playing Super Metroid, someone finishing a match as Storm might then send you your grappling beam, you know? I'm so bad at this game. Like, for some reason, this is like the hardest, like, Metroidvania I've played. To me, Ender Lilies is so much harder than Hollow Knight. I don't know what it is about this game. Just, like, I think there's just like so little staggers or anything, and there's just like really little visual feedback, and you just hit an enemy and then they immediately just barrel through you, and you take so much damage from everything. Like, look at it. Nothing gets, like, stopped by your attacks. Like, ever. And that just throws me off. Look at that. There's no staggers of any kind. You have to, like, break their poise to do that, and that's never gonna happen quickly. That's probably my main thing. Anyways. So I've never really done a manual or included a manual or anything like that. Because it's not really randomized, which is usually the most interesting part of Archipelago. And none of the games offered really grabbed my eye. But now there's this thing called Keymaster's Keep, and it's pretty similar to a manual. It doesn't hook into the games, it's not randomized, and you have to manually complete checks on your, you know, and you have to click the button, and it's based on the honor system. The difference with Keymaster's Keep is that it's a lot even easier than setting up a manual. Because a manual has to be designed somewhat for each game, and a lot of them are just text, so it's pretty similar, but then some will create a mod. some will create a mod to, like, actually... I don't know, I haven't looked into too many of them. Like, I don't think Marvel Rivals... And Marvel Rivals definitely doesn't hook into anything. But then I think, like... maybe the WoW one or something, like, will actually block out abilities or something as a mod. So you're like, okay, like, I can't use that ability because I haven't unlocked it yet. And you know, so you have a mod that might restrict certain things like that without really interacting with the game a whole lot. Keymaster's Keep, though, is literally all just text files for every game. And even I could add a game to Keymaster's Keep by just putting in the proper text. And instead of just, like, the same basic checks of just, like, do this mission with this character, or do this match with this character, or whatever, reach this zone, or, you know... Well, there is some of that, but I'm not explaining any of this really well. It's basically a challenge generator. And the challenges can vary wildly depending on the game to be like actual difficult challenges to stuff that you might see in a manual. So like Elden Ring is one of the games. Elden Ring doesn't have an archipelago, doesn't have a rando. They're working on it or trying to work on it, but I mean, it does have a rando, but not archipelago. Ugh. Usually I'm good at explaining stuff. But the Elden Ring Keymaster's Keep thing will generate challenges like reaching a certain level, finding specific pieces of equipment. So it might say, find one of these shields, and then it'll list like 3 shields. And if you find one of those, you can then mark the challenge as complete. And the benefit of Keymaster's Keep over just a manual, mostly, is that it combines multiple games into one sort of run. So you can kind of set like how lengthy you want the Keymasters thing to be. And then you can put in whichever games that you want it to pull from. So you might put in Elden Ring, RimWorld, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, Hollow Knight, and Fire Emblem 3 Houses, which are all available currently. And then it'll generate the run. And again, this can interact with other Archipelago runs. So you could also throw in a normal rando of Super Metroid or StarCraft 2. And then it will it'll generate a bunch of different trials. And you'll have like one trial unlocked first. And that trial will be for one game specifically. So that set of trials might be for Elden Ring. And then it'll give you a few challenges, such as finding a specific weapon, beating a specific boss, going to a specific site of grace, reaching a certain level, finding a certain spell, finding a certain Ash of War, you know, all sorts of stuff like that. And then once you finish all those, you mark the challenges as complete, and those will send checks into the system. So if you're playing with other randos, then you might send someone like their grappling beam or super missiles or whatever. But then other checks for you in the system include usually like keys, which lets you unlock more trials, which might be for Elden Ring, or might be for Hollow Knight, or might be for Fire Emblem 3 Houses. And then the whole goal of your run there is to get certain artifacts of resolve, which are just like generic key items that could just be anywhere. So there's usually a handful of these artifacts resolved, and you need to get some of them in order to unlock the ultimate challenge, which is your final goal. And I have no idea what it is because I haven't looked that far. But then once you finish the ultimate challenge, then you win your run, and all you're done. You're done. So depending on how you set it up, you could just do it as like, okay, I'm just doing Elden Ring, and all my challenges are going to be Elden Ring, and I'm just doing that. But you could set it up that you have 5 different games, or 10 different games, 20 different games, and you have no idea what's going to come up. And you might be swapping games all the time to do different challenges. Needless to say, it's a very lengthy thing on average. So Lego and I started a run last night. There was meant to be kind of a shorter, just like trial run of this Keymaster's Keep, because I really wanted to play Elden Ring. So he did StarCraft 2, I did Elden Ring through Keymaster's Keep. And like my first set of challenges that I got were like, it was get a specific gauntlet, one of 3 specific gauntlets. So one was like Malekith's gauntlets, one was the Raging Wolf gauntlets, and then one was just the standard gauntlets, part of the chain armor or whatever. And that one's the easiest to get because you can just buy that from the first merchant for 1,000 runes. I was like, okay, so I got some runes. I went over there and I bought the gauntlets. And I didn't, I don't care about the gauntlet. I'm not going to equip them or anything, but I had to buy them, and then I marked the challenge complete, and that sent, I think that sent Reapers as a unit over to Lego. But then the other challenges were reaching the Makar Worm Site of Grace, which is a lot more time-consuming and harder than getting gauntlets, because I have to go up that whole section and beat that boss to do it. And then the third one was reaching getting plus 10 potency on my flasks. So getting like 10 sacred tears, essentially. That, again, quite a bit more time consuming. And I don't know the game well enough to just know exactly where all 10 could be the easiest to get. So a bit long-term goals. But then pretty quickly Lego unlocked a second set of trials for me. One was beating the Godskin Noble. One was reaching level 134. One was, God, what was the third one? Oh, one was getting a specific, fuck, what are they called? Charms, or whatever they're called. One of 3, like the Silver Scarab or the Concealing Veil or something like that. So there was a few of them. I don't know. So it's all random. It's gonna be stuff like that, and it's not really designed to be like progressive or anything like that. So like one of the first challenges wasn't reach level 10 or reach level 20. It literally is just set up to be a random number between like 30 and 150. So you could have gotten anything in that range, and that could show up at any time. So I think it's possible for then another challenge to be at like reach level 75. It's just maybe I haven't seen that yet, or maybe it's not there. I don't know. So I think it is possible for you to theoretically unlock challenges that you've already completed, and then you can just check those right away. I'm pretty sure. Well, because like if a kill a boss thing comes up and I've already killed them, I'm not going to restart the game and go do it. Like, I already did it, so it's already completed. But the really nice thing is, since it doesn't hook into the game at all, because it's basically just a manual and it's on the honor system and all that, I don't have to play base Elden Ring. I can play the Convergence, which is much better because it's more fun, and you can kind of teleport around the map a lot more easily. So for like doing a sync run of sitting down and doing this with someone, it's a lot better to just use the Convergence. So we started that last night, and yeah, it was a little rocky at first, and it's still a little rocky because we just didn't. I had no idea. It was like a first test run, and obviously there's going to be a bit more time consuming than I thought, because it's like you kind of have to build up your strength and level in Elden Ring before you can do a lot of stuff easily. And if I had multiple games in there, like any minute that you spend not playing Elden Ring because you're playing some other game is just like you're not growing any more powerful in Elden Ring. So yeah, it's a lot of time. It's a long thing. But so far I really dig it because it allows me to play Elden Ring, play the Convergence, and I get to send checks occasionally and do like kind of interesting challenge stuff sometime that I wouldn't normally do. So I think it's really cool, and it's very easy apparently to add new games. This came out like a month ago, and they've already added 150 games to the list because it's literally just text files. that someone has to parse through and come up with, you know, loads and loads of options for challenges. So yeah, pretty sweet. It's not the end all be all for Archipelago because it's, again, it's not randomized. You're not playing a randomized game. So it's not really a replacement for Archipelago, but it is a fun alternative for some other games. And so what I really, of course, want to do is add Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead. That's the goal. So I gotta sit down, look at the text and stuff, look at what I have to type in, and come up with just gobs of challenges. I looked at the Elden Ring file, and yeah, it's basically just like you come up with, I mean, again, based on the Elden Ring thing, which I'll mostly copy, is like, it has a template challenge of like, go sit at this site of grace. And then you fill it in with like the list of sites of graces that it can pull from, which is this obviously very extensive list. And then it can just choose, you know, one of those anytime it needs to generate a challenge. So, yeah, fucking Cataclysm. It's gonna be, it would be like reaching certain skill thresholds, but nothing too ridiculous. I wouldn't set it at like reaching 10 in a skill, because that'll just take an eternity for most things. It would probably be like 5, like 4 or 5 is good enough. Maybe I'd set a range of like 4 to 7. Because like 7 fabrication is not really that tough to get, but 7, I don't know, swimming or athletics, like you kind of have to go really out of your way and spend a bunch of time doing that. Like in-game time. So that would be something. I think finding certain items would be on there. Like, probably like bigger items that you'd probably try to find anyways. Like, find an arc welder. Find a hacksaw. Find a rifle, you know, anything with a rifle trait, stuff like that. Find a handgun. That might all be on there, but then also stuff that you normally wouldn't pick up or really go out of your way to find, which is similar to what Sky Island does, where it's like find a full body pillow, or find a, I don't know, a silver locket. I mean, there's just like no limit really to like the things that you could put in there of finding. And then, like, find specific books. Find a Holy Bible. That's on the easier side, because you pretty much go to any church, you're going to find that, or maybe, like, the Quran or something. You could add all that. But then finding, like, specific martial arts manuals. I am really hesitant to even do that, because I know for a fact how fucking difficult that can be. To find... I don't know if I'd put a specific one, but find any martial art manual is probably good enough. And then like kill specific types of enemies, you know, specific types of zombies, or like kill a moose, or kill like a decayed pouncer. You know, you can do all sorts of stuff for kills, or you could do stuff with killing a specific enemy, or kill any enemy with a specific item. Like, kill an enemy with a microwave. You know, and it's just like, yeah, you probably want to find a lone zombie, and you probably want to kite him as much as you can onto a slow movement tile, and then hope the best, and be well armored, and swing your fucking microwave to kill it. I've heard about people that have done so. Killing zombies with like really heavy appliances they happen to be wielding at the moment. So stuff like that would be fun. Cooking specific dishes, like cooking loaded nachos or whatever it is, or cooking ratatouille. That could be something. Taking certain drugs, like consume low-grade methamphetamine. I mean, I think the challenge list for this game could be astronomical if I just sat there for hours and come up with stuff. So, and like I said, there's no programming here. It's all just text lists. And honestly, if I just come up with all these lists, I could probably just put it into the Discord and say, hey, can anyone put this together for me? I don't know what I'm doing. But I think I probably could figure it out myself. And then once I can do Archipelago Cataclysm, oh my god. Again, not quite randomized, but the game is very random in general. And just having, like, challenges to do... I mean, yeah, that would... I would make some videos on that, for sure. Just by itself, no other games, and just, okay, let's play Cataclysm and do random challenges. People have done that already with, like, bingos, I think. And it's a pretty similar concept to just doing bingos. But it's just you don't know what all the bingo squares are at the start, because you slowly unlock challenges. Yeah, I'm pretty hyped. Pretty hyped. It's gonna happen. Don't worry. Right, what was I talking about? Yeah, okay, yeah, that was Archipelago. So, yeah, if you want to see more of that, Lego and I will be doing that on Wednesday between Elden Ring and StarCraft 2. Sure, there'll be some of that, and that'll almost certainly carry over to Saturday as well, unless we decide to start over. Because Lego did pick, like, a pretty short StarCraft 2 thing, because I really wasn't sure. So it was mostly just a test run, so we might start fresh on Saturday again. But also, like, RimWorld is on there, and he's really interested in trying that out. Just, like, random RimWorld challenges of making, like, specific items out of specific materials, and taming specific animals, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's gonna be pretty wild. But theoretically, I mean, basically any game could be added to it pretty easily. More linear games, like old school RPGs, it wouldn't really work as well, because, you know, it benefits a lot from the freedom to go around, or games like Tetris Effect is on the list, because of that you can do all sorts of different challenges, or do specific levels, specific modes, specific settings, whereas doing like a classic JRPG, it's just you're mostly playing through the game. There might be some challenges you could do, but a lot of the times, like, the way that it's set up, that's where a bingo is better, because you know ahead of time all the things that you might have to do, whereas this unlocks challenges as you go. And if you've already, like, beaten a boss normally, and then the challenge comes up to beat a boss and land the final blow, or you know, or like, yeah, like Final Fantasy V, say, and one of the challenges that comes up is to defeat, you know, the boss of the Fire Shrine, but only use this job or something like that, and, like, you've already killed him by the time that comes up. You'd have to start the game over if you wanted to do that. So I don't think it works for every game, just because it can add any game. But Cataclysm is the one that really came to mind. Obviously. Cataclysm's always on my mind. Over on the Exploring series, put out the video on Maslow's Fire. It did not do too hot. Not too many views on that one. I don't know, maybe I picked a lame thumbnail. It's always a possibility. Maybe people just aren't interested in Maslow's Fire. Tomorrow I'll be dropping 8-Ball. 4-parter all together. It should be about 3 hours or so. We'll see how people feel about that. I liked 8-Ball. I think it's kind of a memorable thing that I remember well. Humorous, certainly. Not normal SCP fare, but enjoyable. And then this week will be the last week of my vacation. And the last one will be Fratricide, both parts. And probably, almost certainly, straight into the bone proposal. Yeah. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about, I'm really hungry, but I want to talk about this. My family RPG night. This whole week, I was like, okay, the whole hex crawl thing just is not working here because they don't have enough initiative to really drive their own plots. They don't really know what they do, and I have to lead them by the nose. And the big problem is just like I'm in this whole OSR mentality with my own, like, I'm doing solo now, and I've been doing Shadow Dark now for a while. So I'm in this whole OSR mentality of kind of gritty realism and hex crawl and tracking rations and, you know, all this sort of stuff. And then I go every Saturday to play with them, and I basically have to throw just ridiculous combats at them because they're already really powerful. And it's really hard to kill them, and I want to challenge them with proper fights. And I really basically need to think on like a whole other scale of gameplay that I'm good at doing. So I went again back to the idea of just, okay, I should just run a D&D or Pathfinder adventure or campaign, and you know, make the fights big and bombastic, and make the plot kind of railroaded but epic and blah blah blah. So I was poking around looking, and okay, what do people recommend? What is really a good, solid adventure? And I don't care if it's railroady as long as it's like fun. The encounters are fun and stuff like that. And so one that came up a lot was a third-party one called Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. So I started looking into that. I started reading it. I started prepping it, and it is very epic. It's like the party goes to, or, you know, it takes place in this like lost land that's like ancient Greece. It's very much modeled after ancient Greece, but fantastical. And the party are basically like the chosen ones that the Oracle has foreseen to save them all from the Titans, because the oath of peace that they formed 500 years ago is expiring finally, and the Titans are going to ravage the land, and the party are the chosen ones that have come here to stop it. So it's all very epic and, you know, D&D stuff. And I started prepping it. I was like, okay, this seems pretty good. And then suddenly yesterday, before the session, in the afternoon, I was like, you know what? This is like too epic. This is too epic for my players. They're not going to care about the story. None of their characters have any personalities. So there's like no role-playing here. And I really feel like we're not going to finish this campaign. The odds of us finishing this epic, massive campaign that's meant to go through numerous levels, you know, and all these activities, events, cities, like, the odds of us finishing is very slim. And like, what's the point really of starting something like that if we're almost certainly not going to finish it? And I was like, I should go. I need to just find something smaller, something simpler, something shorter. You know, still relatively epic. I can throw a lot of big fights, but just not this epic yet. Maybe if they ever get a handle on role-playing better. Fat chance of that, but... so I started looking around yesterday afternoon, last minute. Like, okay, what else could I run? And I found a 3rd edition campaign for D&D called The Red Hand of Doom. And it immediately grabbed me pretty quickly of being relatively epic still. Big kind of battles, big, you know, hero shit. But definitely smaller scale, smaller stakes. Not like introducing all this mythology and stuff. Red Hand of Doom pretty much is about the players defending this region on like the Borderlands from an encroaching army of hobgoblins that worship Tiamat, the sort of evil dragon queen. And so it's mostly about hobgoblins, but they do have like kind of monstrous allies with them. So there's some giants involved. They have like manticores, you know, and they have like dragon men, and they have some dragons. So it's a good mix, but it's mostly hobgoblins in kind of military formation and war bands moving around and stuff. And the players have to go and try and disrupt their activities, go to their lairs and stuff, put a stop to them, and then, but inevitably, I mean, there is going to be a big full-scale battles that occur, and leading to a big final battle for the sake of the main city there. So far, what I've read has all been really cool, and I was like, okay, this is good enough. That I want to switch to this last minute, and so I did. Scrambled a little bit, but I ran like the first encounter where they get ambushed by hobgoblins, and they survived pretty much by the skin of their teeth. I did end up pulling my punches a little bit at the end. There was supposed to be a reinforcement of like 6 more hobgoblin soldiers, but I could read the room, and I was like, I think they'll be happier if I don't send that in. That it bit me in the ass a little bit later when they were asking some other NPC about like the size of the forces, the size of the army, and they were like, well, the war bands are like, 15 to 20 each, and they were like 15 to 20, we only fought, I think they fought like 12 or 10. They fought like 10, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I gotta confess, I was supposed to send 6 more soldiers in, so let's just pretend that I did send 6 more in and you guys killed them all. And they all really liked that. They're all very happy with that. Yes, we're badass. Awesome. All right, fine. Sure. Let's skip over the fact you guys would have been slaughtered. But yes. Yeah, so it was kind of skin of their teeth, because I didn't really balance the encounter that well and, like, specific enemies that well. I just threw... the encounter had numbers of enemies and types of enemies, and so I made up stats for them for Weird Wizard, and it was a little on the tough side because I was sick of them just steamrolling every fight they encountered, and they did not steamroll it. But they did end up winning, mostly because a handful of enemies fled, which makes sense. But yeah, they enjoyed it. It was a lengthy fight. It was like an hour long. But they won, and they were happy they won, and no one died. And then they went on to like the little town that they were supposed to go to, and they met with the leaders there and were informed of the situation. And of course they agreed to help. They're gonna help wipe out the hobgoblins, save this place because they're big heroes. It's all good. We like that. And they were told to go into the forest and try and find out where the hobgoblins are coming from, because they've been amassing numbers in the forest. So if we can put a stop to that and find their lair or something. And, of course, our players are now, they're somewhat sort of in an OSR mentality, because I've just been trying to drill that into them, rather than like a D&D big dick hero mentality of just like, yeah, we're going to fuck their lair up, blah, blah, blah. I think that first fight shook them a little bit, which it should. But they were like, okay, well, we can't take on a layer of hobgoblin. We barely survived that one war band, Like, are you going to send troops and all this? And it's like, no, maybe. You'll be fine. So they were told to contact this this hunter that lives out in the woods by himself named Jor, because he knows the woods better than anybody. He'll be their guide. And so they went out and they meet Jor, and I gave him a real Western drawl, like real... He honestly sort of reminded me a bit more of like Crocodile Dundee. But I wanted to go with the Western drawl, because I can't do an Australian accent. And so he's eager to kind of get rid of these hobgoblins in his wood, so he joined them as their guide and continued on, and they're trying to get to this military keep that they believe has treasure in it, but they also might suspect is the hobgoblin's lair here. So they wanted to go to the keep. He starts leading them to the keep. And they get to this big river that has a bridge across it. And Jor is about to cross it, and then he stops, and he's like looking around. He's like, something's wrong. And then he sees something. He's like, if that's what I think it is, we better run. Because there's a fight there that a lot of people, I guess, suggest you just remove because it serves no purpose. But I was like, it's kind of too cool to pass up because it's a fucking Hydra. A Hydra just bursts out of the water, and they had a big debate about whether they should run or not. Because they're like, we can't beat a Hydra. That's crazy. We're going to die. We're just going to die here. This is not going to be worth it at all. We're going to die. They were very scared. And, yeah, I mean, it's pretty scary. It's a Hydra. But then they used their question for God for the session to ask if it was worth fighting. And I mentioned that, well, oh, there's a +1 mithril breastplate sitting nearby. And they're like, oh, well, Lego was like, we gotta kill this. We gotta get that. So they entered the fight. And I didn't run the Hydra as written in Shadow of the Weird Wizard, because it would have just utterly demolished them. So I made it like a baby Hydra or something. Which, again, you know, this is very anti-OSR. I know, and I'm doing that on purpose. I want them to be big dick heroes and enjoy it. So I made it a baby Hydra, but they didn't know that. They just think it's a Hydra. And they got into a fight with it, and it was fairly dangerous. But I let them roll like a lore check on it, like an intellect check on it, to determine if they knew anything about Hydras. And I'm like, yeah, you know, it's going to regenerate its heads unless you use fire or acid. And fortunately, the only mage in the group does have fire magic. Like, really good fucking fire magic. So he was, you know, they were cutting off heads, and he was cauterizing the stumps and stuff afterwards. And, you know, they took some hits. They definitely took some damage, but it wasn't end-of-the-world stuff. They were willing to keep going afterwards, and they killed the Hydra, and they felt real successful about it, and they got their +1 mithril breastplate. And their main tank equipped that, so now his AC is like 19. He's pretty pleased with himself. And it's like, alright, good. I can just throw more dangerous shit at you. We like that. You know, Lego definitely has this mentality of just, if he stacks his defense high enough, he's untouchable. Which is not unheard of in D&D games, of players that just think defense, AC, that's all you need. And nothing can get through my armor. But in a world of magic and all sorts of stuff, not the end-all be-all. And if you get enough little enemies and they grab onto you and pin you to the ground and dogpile you, yeah, you will die without assistance, so... But anyways, then they continued on and they approached the keep, and that's where we ended for the night. And everyone seemed to enjoy it, so... Pretty good start so far. They're excited to, like, go to war with these hobgoblins and save the whole place. Be big dick heroes. So overall, I think, compared to what I would have done for our first session of Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, I think this was a better choice. So I'm happy with my choice. And it's a very well-loved campaign, I guess. Red Hand of Doom. There's whole little communities devoted to it, so... Yeah, good stuff. 3rd edition. Who would have thought? Alright, anyways, that's it for me. I am hungry, so we will end this here. So more Dawn of War 2. More gold box stuff. Check out Lego and I doing some Archipelago with Elden Ring challenges this week. And over on the Exploring series, 8-Ball, all parts. For now, though, my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks